And I do have an interview coming up because in politics, and gosh, it's been a morning, there is a court case going on in Wellington today around the money that you pay to fund political parties. Believe it or not, millions of dollars is expended every election year by you and given to political parties to spend quite specifically on electioneering, election advertising. And it's got to be spent with traditional media on radio or television, and allocations are made by a bunch of politically aligned shiny-ass bureaucrats. It's millions for the big parties and a few thousand for the minor parties. And most new minor parties who've got to 500 registered members could expect about, 60, 70 grand for election funding. But as you would have heard on this program, it hasn't really been reported anywhere else, when a bunch of those smaller parties decided to join Freedoms New Zealand, that's the umbrella organisation for those parties generally on the Christian or conservative right, the Electoral Commission said, you're all going to lose your $66,000 each funding because you're all just part of one small party that gets the $66,000. Dirty trick or political reality. Not everyone involved in Freedoms New Zealand is happy with it. And one of the people who isn't happy and is seeking some satisfaction is Hannah Tamaki, the leader of Vision New Zealand and involved in the management of Freedom New Zealand, the umbrella organisation. Hannah, how are you?
Good. Hi, Sean.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me on.
You're welcome. What are you going to court today for? And who are you going to court as?
Well, we're going as the component party. So there's Sue Gray, who's actually going to be representing the small parties for Outdoor and Freedom Party, and Vision New Zealand and NMP. The whole thing is $66,000. It's not a lot of money. We're not asking for much, but I think when we're standing candidates under our own party name, Vision New Zealand, Outdoor and Freedom, and the other parties, NMP, I think that really, what does it hurt for $66,000 when they've got $1.2 million?
So those three parties are going to the court today saying, we want $66,000 each of taxpayers' money to campaign with those separate brands.
Yes, because we are standing candidates separately. I mean, you know that I stood last time and it's my second time round, so it's not like I'm a newbie at it, or I'm still fresh. But we're just loving it. But I think there has to be a pushback. But apparently, what's wrong with it? Even the political TV could be showing it while Parliament's closed down. And thankfully, there's organisations like you who will actually do it, because you're not allowed to get sponsors to do mainline TV or radio.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what we are. We're not subject to the BSA, and if people want to...
Well, we're going to give it a good go anyway.
Yeah, if people want to advertise them, that's fine. Now, my other question here is, okay, so if the new National Party, Vision New Zealand and the Outdoor Recreation Party get their $66,000, and I'm talking as a taxpayer here, I presume then Freedoms New Zealand doesn't get any funding.
Well, that's a registered party too in its own right. So it is an actually registered party too, so it will. But it gives the minor parties an opportunity to tell the public what they're campaigning on, who their people are.
So we could potentially, as taxpayers, be paying 66 to the Outdoor Recreation, 66 to New National Party, 66 grand to Vision New Zealand, and another 66 grand to Freedoms New Zealand. $250,000 of taxpayers' money for political parties that are going to get nowhere near Parliament.
But Sean, don't forget, we are taxpayers also. And anyway, like I said to you, you just never know. There's a whole swing and different way of thinking. There's so many people that have parked their votes at the moment, and I think we're just giving them the opportunity. After what everyone's gone through over the last few years, people are actually sitting there waiting. And what does it hurt for us to give it a good go? Well,
nothing, but it hurts to $250,000.
Well, I'm sure all of us that are in parties have probably paid over that amount in tax. So I think we are as eligible as the other small parties. Like there are other small parties that have got their $66,000 that are possibly, similar to us.
Now, so today you go to the High Court. Is this the initial hearing, or is this a substantive hearing you've got today? Do we get a decision on this today or not?
Well, hopefully to get a decision today. We're actually standing outside the High Court this morning. There's a little group of us here, and we're supporting Sue, who's lodged the claim, who has done hundreds of hours of work. And I think she's sort of thinking, listen, they're misreading the way it is. Let's give it our best shot, and that's what we're here doing today.
All right. Hey, by the way, while I've got you there, what do you think's been going on with Matt King and Democracy New Zealand? He had a bit of a mare of a week, didn't he?
Well, you treated him like a rag doll yesterday, didn't you?
Well, I just wanted him to answer some questions and tell us what had gone on. Have any of those people who quit Democracy New Zealand come and talk to you?
Never. So I don't know who they're talking to, because I did hear him say that they were talking to other parties, reading information. But what does it hurt for a leader to be transparent with your team who are trusting you to lead them when they've given their hey, financially they've put themselves out there to be candidates for your party? What does it hurt for transparency? To be honest, anybody that's standing for us, they're welcome to our home. We'll have a good chat about things before things happen. Got to know their family, they've got to know your family, they've got to know who's backing them and who you're backing. So the fact that he wasn't giving transparency is a little bit sad.
Okay, if you don't win this case today and you don't get the $250,000 in total, you'd only get 66 grand, I presume, for Freedom's New Zealand. Does that mean that the whole thing's over and you haven't got enough money to run a campaign or not?
No. We got money in the bank. We've got donors, we've got people that have been giving, so it's not just about the money, it's the principle of what's been happening. And I think that out of principle sometimes you've got to fight. It is like David and Goliath, and I believe in fighting a fair fight, and I think if they're going to put the boxing gloves on, then we've got to put ours on and we've got to go in and fight. Anyone
from mainstream media covering this case?
I did see a camera person a little while ago, but I don't think so.
No, they don't.
Who knows? But there's been no special request put in, so I doubt it.
And while I've got you here, and as you're a political candidate, what do you think about this teacher who's been fired for not using the right pronouns for a 14? Yeah?
Well, look, I think it's appalling. What are we coming to? We've got a new religion now, and it's called transgenderism. So get rid of Christianity, get rid of Christians, and bring this other stuff in. And I think that it's about time people, ordinary New Zealanders who have had a gutful, should stand up and actually look at what we're all doing and what we're saying. Yeah, you're free to choose things, but listen, it's been rammed down everybody's throat. Unless you accept it, unless you take it, it is actually like the new religion in New Zealand. And I think people of faith got to stand up and say, hey, enough is enough. We should be able to have faith. We should be able to have Bible in schools once a week, but no, we have Gay Pride Week, but we're not allowed Bible in schools anymore. So what's happening, New Zealand? Where's the backbone gone? Stop being jellyfish and stand up.
And what about assigning health resources on the grounds of ethnicity?
No. We're one people, one nation, and everyone should be treated the same.
All right, I hear you. Well, I'll just say, because it's a polite thing to do, good luck today.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Thanks again. Bye.
Cheers. Hannah Tamaki, leader of Freedom's New Zealand and Vision New Zealand. Freedom's New Zealand being the umbrella party that covers the outdoor recreation party, which has been taken over by the anti-mandate, anti-vax nutters. And the new National Party, which is basically a couple of rich folk from Wellington having a bit of a play with politics. So we could spend $250,000 of our own money paying for campaign ads and the like for them, or we could cut it down to $66,000. I don't know. It's chump change in terms of government expenditure and taxpayer expenditure, but it's interesting to see the major parties, of course, have put up a system of political funding which absolutely favours them. It's all rather corrupt and rather bent.